What's some things that are kind of unexpected that you've seen people do that boost local reputation?
One of the strategies that I love the most is, now there's there's a lot of more home service and roofing companies that are doing video content or even starting podcasts, right?
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And to talk about that, who better but Joseph Hughes of Contractor Dynamics? Joseph, you really popularized this idea of being 5 mile famous. What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me to be 5 Mile famous is that if you're a local service company, local contractor, think about the idea that in any given market, about 3% of people in a 5 mile radius of you, or 50 miles or 25, whatever it is, based on the size of your company and if you're rural or whatever, right? But let's use 5 Mile famous because it's alliterative and it sounds catchy. Only 3% of people, give or take, are going to need your services this year. Thing is, you don't know who those people are, right? You can go bang on doors all day until your knuckles are bloody, or you can do some telemarketing, and maybe that can help to try to find those people. But that's really inefficient, really ineffective. So what we want to do is we want to just become 5 Mile famous. Famous. We want to get everyone in that 5 mile radius to know who we are and what we do, and ideally associate with us in a positive way, so that those people that do need our services, they think of us first, or at least we're one of those three estimates that they're getting. And then the other people that are not going to need our services for another bunch of years, or maybe never, maybe they're renters or whatever, they're in a position to recommend us, refer us, tag us in a local Facebook group and what have you. And then we are also building that brand equity and that trust and that connection with people that might need our services next year or in 3 years. We never know. So, we're farming our market constantly, and waking up every day and saying, "How do I get more people to know about our company today than knew about us yesterday?" And that's the whole concept behind 5 Mile Famous. We wanna be that top of mind go-to company in our market that everyone thinks of first.
From your point of view, if you had to take like three levers, let's say, to help people get closer to that goal, the highest torque levers or whatever, what would those be? What are the best levers to get 5 mile famous quickly or like over the course of a couple years?
The first one by far is gonna be faces on video. Even today in today's world, that's still not a thing. Of course, like in the circles where you and I run, Tim, like more people are on video, but you take a cross section of any market, right? There's still not that many contractors and home service companies that are on video with faces on video. That's the fastest, most like genuine way to build that connection. So I'd say that's number one. Social proof, number 2, which is not new by any means, right? That's been social proof has been something for centuries, right? But now it's easy. It's easy to get Google reviews, get some clients on video testimonials, making sure that our website's full of social proof. Skepticism is at an all-time high. So the more social proof that we can have, the better. So faces on video, social proof. What's the third thing? I would say being consistent with whatever you're doing. Ideally, it includes those 2 things, video and social proof, but consistency is huge. Not just in terms of, like, consistency produces, good marketing results, but in terms of, like, people that are in your market, they're gonna trust the companies that they see constantly, right? That have been around for years, right? And so that breeds a ton of trust. So those would be my top 3 things.
Awesome. Um, Sorry, I had the little Apple thing come up on my my screen. It's so weird how that does that randomly. Um, Let me see where I was at. So we just talked about. Can you see your last little bit again for me?
Consistency, right? So, yes, consistency is probably the if there is any magic to marketing, that's what it would be, is being consistent, right? But also, like, just the perception of people in your market, it builds trust in people when they see you for years, right? Like, we can all think of, like, who's the number one, like, HVAC company in our market, the one I know. I know the one that I see all the time, and I've been seeing them for years. That builds a lot of trust. So that's huge.
Yeah, I think I want to turn this around and apply this. Like, how have you learned this in your business? How does this apply? Just so people can feel your story a little bit here too, because I think that helps them understand this principle can be applied to niches, right? 5 miles could be a niche. Like if you're a B2B company or something. Not that everyone that's listening to this would be that, but to give some perspective on how you've learned this for yourself. I would say you and I are two of the most consistent marketers in the roofing space for like we just are like always there, right? Like we're posting all the time. Now, most of our competitors, and this isn't me being spicy, this is just being real, like just for the audience to hear this, is like go in fits and spurts. Like people I see people come in and do like 2 months of like the best content ever, and then they kinda like withdraw, and then they come back like 6 months later when they're less busy or whatever. And like, I don't know, you and I both are just show up all the time. I'm not gonna say there's none other ones, but I see that as a very common thing. How do people before you go into what how 5 Mile Famous applies to you, how the hell do you stay consistent at all when life gets so busy?
It's hard, man. It's hard, I'm sure you get it all the time too. Like you go to events and people are like, "Man, you guys are killing it," right? And we get that all the time because we're so consistent with content. And, sometimes inside you're like, "Man, no, we're kinda struggling right now, like, we're going through some problems right now, like, we're not killing it." But we are being consistent, showing up no matter what, and just sticking to that. I think that some of that's faith, like, if you're brand new to it, you just have to trust the process, and trust, like, when guys like, Tim and I tell you to be consistent because it does pay off. But then, like, when you do get that feedback, when you start to get that, like, "Oh, yeah, I see you guys all over the place. I've been seeing you for a while." Then,
Right.
like, you get that feedback loop, and that just keeps you showing up, right? So, like, I
Mhm.
know that, this
Yep.
video we're doing today, like, I'm not doing it to, like, produce a lead for us, but, like, a YouTube video that I might shoot this week, like, I'm not looking to generate a lead, like, this quarter, like, someone might see that 2 years from now, or, not
I
even
think
that one video, but someone's gonna be watching, our content on and off for the next 2 years, and they might become a client, or even if they don't become a client, like, it's gonna help them, you know?
Uh-huh.
So, there's a lot that goes into that, but just trusting the process. And, like, one of my biggest, they talk about the compound effect is, like, the 8th wonder of the world, and I truly believe that, whether it's in, like, health and fitness or marketing or business, like, it really is about just showing up every day and just controlling what you can control, and, just trusting that process, you know?
Give us the couple-minute version. I know I don't wanna get too far off in this because our main audience here is gonna be contractors, but, like, give us 2 or 3 minutes just on, like, how the 5 Mile Famous thing works for you. Like, you use this principle, it's just a little bit different. How is it showing up? What does that mean for you when you market?
Man, so going to events is cool as you do. Because when you put out podcast content, especially podcast content, it's hard to get the data, like who's really listening to this, right? YouTube, people don't leave comments, but then you go to events, they're like, "Oh yeah, like I listened to all your episodes." I'm like, "All right, man, you got nothing better to do?" Uh, but no, like we onboarded a new client recently, roofing company in the Chicago area, a guy that I've like run into at a couple of the industry conferences over the years, like never really had a conversation with him. And, we're in our one-on-one onboarding call, and he's, like, quoting things that I've said in YouTube videos. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I watch all your YouTube videos," and I'm like, "I had no idea." Like, I know who this guy is, like, we're Facebook friends, but, like, I had no idea he's watching all of our YouTube videos, you know? But that happens, honestly, all the time, and I'm sure it happens with you as well, Tim, because you put out a lot of great content. That happens all the time. So, um, it's great because that's a great client too, right? And for a marketing company, but also for a home services company. Like, ideally, we want the prospects coming to us, they're already pre-sold on us, right? They're already like, "Yeah, I wanna work with you guys," or at least, like, "I wanna get a quote from you guys, and I know you're not gonna be the cheapest, but I know you're not you're gonna take care of me," right? So that prospect is, like, pre-sold on wanting to work with you. that's priceless. That's huge, you know?
Yeah, and, like, I know that you had been going to market for a long time and just roofing, right? It's super tight, it's very clear, most of your content has people they know, you know? When you're going on podcasts, you focused on the ones probably a lot more that are related to roofing. So you kind of, when you know your audience, then you know where to go to get their attention because you know who has their attention. And so whether that's in a niche like you and I are doing, or whether that's 5 Mile Famous, it's the same principle that hey, where are the homeowners in this area focused and their attention? And some people kill it with magazines. Some people kill it with if there's a tight audience, if it's a local thing and you know that there's actually quite a few people looking at it, then everything goes further. So you're just kind of finding a way to like make all this energy worth it. Because we're applying a lot of energy no matter what to our marketing. If if 90% of it is going out into the ether because we're totally obsessed with virality or trying to get to the whole state because we don't have our tight market. Like, there's a lot of wasted energy, which is we're just trying to help you not waste your energy, basically.
Yeah, and for like a local company that's
Yeah.
that's the gated
Ye
community or like the 55 and older community, getting in like those little my parents live in one, so like the little paper pamphlets, like the monthly
Mhm.
newsletter that they print out and put in every mailbox, like those are great, right?
Yeah.
Or, and doing videos in those neighborhoods and, showing people that you're in those neighborhoods, that locality, that specificity builds a lot of trust. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you and I have this, like, we're always kinda recommending things, right? And I, like, look at this entire, this research project that I've got going on that's, like, digging up every last op option for good marketing, and there's literally endless, endless, and there's so many good ideas out there. How do we not, this is just kind of an off-topic thing, but, like, you could take any 10 of these and win, right? Or any 5 of these really aggressively and win. How do you not get so distracted? Like, some person could listen to this and be like, "I'm gonna go do all 50 of these things," and then boom, they are not effective at any of them. So how do you not spread yourself too thin?
Are you talking about, like, me as contractor dy
Oh, sorry, as a home service contractor, excuse me.
Yeah, man, it's hard, and I struggle with this, and maybe you do too, like, when like yesterday, I did a in-person workshop for about 15 roofing companies, and, I really enjoy those, but I also struggle with those because, like, there's so many different types of companies in there, right? There's, like, the big $30 million a year company, then there's, like, the guy that's trying to get off the roof, right? Like, because he's doing everything, and, like, so they should be doing different things, and you wanna, like, let people know, like, you can't do it all, and you shouldn't do it all, right? Um, I love hearing about these roofing contractors that I'll talk to at events or even clients, and they're like, "Hey, like, don't tell anyone, but, like, this is my, like, this is my little secret for how I, like, just crush it," right? I love hearing those things. How do you stay in your lane and not have that shiny object syndrome? I would say just like modeling, right? Like model a company that you really like. You like their brand, you like their culture, you like their customers. That could be modeling from afar. We're just kind of observing, kind of like, funnel hacking them or reaching out to, a company that might be in your market or outside your market and, forming that relationship and just like, we've had, guys like, Aaron Christie, obviously, like we both, worked with Aaron in this company. Like Aaron literally like years ago got on a plane and went to visit other roofing companies to like learn from them. Right. Like do that. And then don't, take, kind of that's part of the art of being an entrepreneur is like, I'm gonna take all these inputs and I'm gonna figure out what I don't need. I'm gonna implement these 3 things. And I'm just gonna be consistent with those and just go with those.
Does your company want to build your brand and get more jobs in the neighborhoods you're currently working in?
The brick by brick playbook allows you to establish your brand, your reputation, and gain trust in any neighborhood in your service area with a series of 4 postcards sent once a week to the neighbors of your current jobs. If you want to get more work in the neighborhoods you're currently working in, get with the team at Dope Marketing and get your brick by brick playbook set up today.
It's crazy how common that is in plumbing and HVAC. Like
Or like
the
the
whole
shop
like
visits, shop tours.
shop tours thing is like built into the culture. Like everyone's doing them. They're sometimes traveling like a state away rather than flying or whatever, but everyone's doing them. And it's like the whole they're used to it. And I think that that wasn't that long ago that they started. It was like 15 years ago, but it's good that that's coming over to roofing basically. Like I think it's like really important to like get in there. And I think like one time I spent a couple days, right, at a plumbing company in California. And actually like the first I did a video, just going on the job site and doing an office tour and all that. And then the second day I like had a half a day where I was just like in the office. And I was just kinda, like, working on video editing or something like that, and I was listening, and, like, the calls were coming like, the way that the calls were coming in and, like, the way that they were being handled, and some of it was, like, good, and then other ones where I was like, I can see how that happens, in marketing, how we, like, lose customer," you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you learn good and bad when you don't just go for the bright and shiny 2-hour office tour, right? Like, maybe spend some time. Maybe, like, hang out with the owner and look for actual behind the scenes information because some of the stuff that is tough is also the most generous when you actually can, like, learn what they're going through when it's not perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time I'm at, like, a client, I'm always reminded of it's always a stark reminder of, like, how, busy and chaotic people are and just like, "Alright, well, now I know and he's not getting back to me. Now I know, like, what his day looks like, and I don't take it personally anymore, you know?"
Yeah, we got people running around in trucks. We got people with too much, hair on fire employees, so many things in home services, and it's like, then, you got that client that's got it all figured out. It's just that's a little more rare in any of these home services where the business owners got the time freedom and everything's good to go. I've also found sorry to go off on this tangent, but I've also found a lot of home service business owners who have the time freedom for a period or so it seems, and then the structures weren't really built out right, and then they have to come back and it's a big mess because they weren't invested when they should have been invested, and that's scarier to me because these as much as we hate them sometimes, these businesses are our babies, and you can't neglect them for too long without somebody like, you gotta make sure the garden is tended, or you gotta have executive level people in place that are tending, but just not leaving too long for your next second and third business. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, on that first point is yeah, you and I do have the luxury of, like, seeing, companies, home service owners that do have that time freedom and do have, like, a tidy business that really runs like a well-oiled machine, and we see that, and, like, we can try to, communicate that to other companies that we might work with, but, like, if you're, like, a roofing company owner stuck in the grind, sometimes you don't get out of your own, like, little area, like, your bubble, you don't see, like, what it could look like, you know? Um, and then the other part of that was, I forget what I was gonna say, but yeah, that's when I try to answer 2 questions at once, but,
no, I know, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. We're kinda talking originally about spreading ourselves too thin because there's so many.
oh, yeah, scaling down, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you see it all the time, especially in store markets, right? Like, you
Mhm.
quote revenue, but it's the owner, and then it's like, a bunch of sales reps and, like, crews, and that's it. Like, there's no middle management, there's no foundation, there's no structure, there's no systems. So you scale from, 3,000,000 to 10,000,000, and then everything breaks, you have to go back down to 3 and rebuild everything. See it all the time. Yeah.
The ability to go up and down. I feel like we're going off on a tangent here, but it's a good tangent. The ability to go up and down without killing it, like the stretching
Mhm.
and like not breaking, like that's so important too, right? Like where there's like,
Mhm.
don't get too high, like you need overhead, don't get too high of overhead, or when it's not a storm year, we don't die. Like don't
Yeah.
die. And also don't go off, oh man, I don't want to rip on anybody, but like don't pull too much money out of that business. Like make sure like cash flow. God, I'm not a consultant. I shouldn't be speaking to this, but don't pull so much money out where it will hurt the business if it goes smaller.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
I shouldn't even be speaking on that topic. But the thing is, if people don't talk about it, then other people do it, and it hurts really bad. It hurts bad when you find out about it through personal experience. Okay, let's get to this next one. What's some things that are kind of unexpected that you've seen people do that boost local reputation?
Unexpected. One of the strategies that I love the most is, now there's like, there's a lot of more home service and roofing companies that are like, doing video content or even starting podcasts, right? Which is encouraging, right? More video content, podcasting, cool. I think one of the things I see a lot of like, well, we focus on roofing, right? You see some roofing company owners doing is like starting a podcast, like talking about like the roofing industry, right? Which if that's something that is a passion of theirs and that's an itch they want to scratch, cool. But I know a couple of roofing companies that have started podcasts that interview other local businesses, and they are like, that's the strategy that's gonna help you become 5 Mile famous, right? Like, don't do what Tim and I do, where we're interviewing other, roofing industry friends and people. That's for our business, right? For the local business, interview the local business owner, like, interview the guy in town that, like, everyone knows, right? Share that content, cross-pollinate your audiences, do all that collaboration and all that. If I started a local roofing company, like that's one of the first things I would do. It's because you're a media company, right? You're putting out media, and you're not always talking about yourself. You're not out there with commission breath, like saying, "Hey, everyone gets a free inspection today." It's you're building a media company, and that's what today's world is all about. So, yeah, no, if you guys are doing that really well, and it's a great strategy.
Once you get to know us, there's no reason to buy from anybody else. What we do differently is we do stake in the factory. You're truly buying direct. We don't sell to distribution. We sell to roofers, the people that have been getting hurt for years. You keep getting price increases from suppliers. We do price decreases. We've had about 4 price decreases this year. VanBoxwellBuilding.com. We have a new website, the Amazon type platform. You go right on there, click it, put it in your cart. We can send it to you, or feel free to give us a call. We'll answer any questions for you.
I agree too, and I think you and I have talked about this a couple years ago, and I think we may have talked about it publicly, and I've seen a lot more people do it. So or listening, I but either way, very smart on you and like good job everyone that's doing that because you're cool. And we don't need you to be in roofing industry cool. We need you to be
Yes.
we need to be local cool, man. And you're so local cool and you're getting more and more local cool and I'm proud of you.
Yes. Local cool. Yeah, local cool guy. We should make hats that say local cool guy. Yeah, that, and then another thing would be, like, marketing wise, it's not really what you might like, think about in terms of lead gen, but, client experience, thank like, referral gifts, things like that, like, staying in front of people after the job is done and a check is collected, in any which way, like, that's a huge, untapped territory as well.
I agree 100%. How do you know when your brand has become a household name? What are some signs?
When you get calls, from prospects and, your call center, your office admins, like, "How'd you hear about us?" "I don't know. I see you guys everywhere." Like that's a great one, right? I see you guys everywhere. That's what we all want. So that's one of them. When you're not getting, shopped around as much, right? When they're calling your roofing company out or your HVAC company, and it's like they know they want to work with you, right? Obviously, it's not an invitation to like price gouge anyone, but as long as you're, reasonable, they're like, yeah, we're gonna go with you guys. We want to work with you guys. That's huge too. So
I agree. Give us one last little exhortation. Why is it worth it? Why is it worth it to try to be 5 Mile famous? Why is it worth it to try to be a household name? It maybe feels like a lot if people aren't used to this.
yeah, why is it worth it to be a household name is because otherwise you're a transactional business, right? Otherwise, if you don't have that brand that people know, like, and trust and they can remember, then you're buying leads, you're generating leads from advertising, and you're on this like hamster wheel, right? You're spending a lot of money on marketing and on leads, and you're never getting off that, right? The more you build that brand and that affinity in your local market, the less you're spending on advertising, which that becomes a strategic advantage to then invest back into your business and hire better people and retain people because you're not spending 10-20% on marketing or whatever it is. um and it's not easy. Like, you've gotta have that long-term perspective. Like, it's gonna take 3 to 5 years. And I know that people don't wanna hear that, right? Yeah, of course, you need to couple that with, like, doing some marketing and advertising. It's gonna get you results this quarter, right? I don't think many businesses have the stomach or the bank account to invest and not get a return for 3 to 5 years, right? But it's people wanna work with companies that are gonna take care of them, and you wanna show your market that you can take care of them. Most people, contrary to what you might be thinking, audience, like, they don't wanna work with the cheapest contractor. They want certainty. So, like, how can you show that to your market? How can you show them that it's not a risky proposition to hire you? Um, and if you truly do, and I've been talking about this more and more, I don't know how I got beating this drum, but, like, if you truly believe that well, I do know. I met with a local company recently, prospective client, and they're doing great. They're in a position where they have like 300 plus Google reviews. They're, got a great company humming along, been around for a few decades. And, they're at this level and they want to get to this level. And I'm like, well, why? What's behind that? He's like, "We do great work. We are, there's a lot of big companies out there that are the high pressure, one call close that are gonna, overcharge people and they don't provide great work. And on the other end of the spectrum, there's like, the solo dudes that, they're not gonna provide a great client experience. They're craftsmen or technicians. We do great work and more people deserve to work with us." And I think that's such a powerful statement, right? It's a powerful conviction. Like, man, when we do well, we have a responsibility to let more people know about us. Otherwise, there's a risk that they're going to go with companies and not get taken care of. And I believe that with our marketing. I think you do too, Tim. And the great companies, they really believe that.
Yeah, and trying to be better, right? Like I'm an introspective guy.
Yeah.
I think my sometimes I ask myself like, are we the best or one of the best or, top companies? And sometimes I can take a comfort that there's a lot worse companies.
Yeah,
Like
true.
there's and we're probably the top 5%. That's what I like to think at least. Um, but even when it's difficult or I'm losing my conviction that we're the best top 5 or top 10%, I use that to like improve the services. The best marketing, and this is my theme for the quarter with my team, was the best marketing is great results and good customer service, right? And if you're 5 Mile famous, you're and you're focused on a smaller area so so that you can hit people more than once, maybe 5 times at least, like, word of mouth goes farther too. Word of mouth, because if the work is good and they've heard about you from the gas station attendant and their neighbor, then people are much more likely to move forward with you. So having a tighter service area and getting really focused on a smaller area, I think allows word of mouth to spread faster.
100%, yeah, and there's also this, like, I don't know how to put it, but when you're out there with your marketing and your content and you're out there in the community, like, you have more at stake, and customers know that, right? So they're like, "Well, this company, surely they're not gonna screw me because, like, they have a lot to lose, like, one bad review could, tarnish their reputation." And I think that's probably a reason why, contractors choose to hire Hook or maybe hire Contractor Dynamics is, like, we're at the events, right? We're out there on social media, and if we were to, like, take advantage of a contractor, all they gotta do is write a Facebook post or like, a review or whatever, and like that will hurt our companies a lot, you know? So, but like if you're going with a contractor, like if you're a homeowner and you're hiring a contractor that's like there's no if they screw you, like if they're not that public and they're not out there with marketing and everything like that, and they take advantage of you, like they're not really losing much, right? So, the stakes are higher when you're putting yourself out there and you're marketing, which ultimately, if you do it right, is great for everyone.
Yeah, and like you infuse that brand with emotion, like as we put ourselves out there more, as we do all the things that Joseph recommended here, we're infusing the logo with emotion and vibes and personality. And they see the trucks driving around, they remember that content, they remember, you know, everything that you've done. So I think like brand is such an interesting thing. And roofing, we've been working with a bunch of shitty brands. That's just true. Like the roofing industry, like there's like 10 really great brands that I'm sure that there's more, but you know what I'm saying, that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I could hunt for more. But there's like, logos, but still there's a lot of great. So I'm saying logos on one hand. There's like 10 great logos, but there's a lot of great companies,
Yeah,
right?
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the brand, and they've infused those sometimes bad logos with a lot of vibes and positivity in their community. And that's brand in a more deep way, not just
Yeah.
the logo. And I think that like your marketing goes further when you have a great logo, but your brand, a lot of you guys have brands that transcend that logo. I don't know why I went off into that philosophical
Well,
direction here, but
I think it's like and it's hard to, maybe articulate or quantify, but, like and we all know it, like, it's a feeling, right? Like, you sometimes you just make decisions based on the way it makes you feel and you feel comfortable, right? Like, think about your own behavior. Like, we went on vacation a couple weeks ago. We split our vacation. We stayed at 2 different hotels, right? And, like, the one hotel, like, it was just like we felt my wife and I were talking about it, like, just feels so zen, and we just feel like we're at home, like, it's such a great feeling, you know? And then the other hotel is just like, it's just okay. It's kinda like a factory, like, there's no feeling about it, right? And sometimes those things are hard to, like, pinpoint, but ultimately, when you have that brand, you said emotion, that's why I thought of this, like, we're trying to elicit that emotion, like, "Yeah, I feel good about these guys," you know? "I feel like they're gonna take care of me," you know? "I feel like I'm in a good place," you know? When I think about them, it's like when I think about, like, I hired ABC Roofing or whatever, like, "Alright, I feel good about that," you know? Versus when I, took a risk and hired the cheap guy, like, I think about them like, "Ooh, I'm a little anxious about that," you know?
well, that's really good. Hey, Joseph, thanks for being on. Thank you for being on the show. Where can people go to check you out?
Contractor Dynamics, just Google us, website, social media, content, video, YouTube, all that good stuff is out there. So hopefully, we practice what we preach. So you'll find us somewhere.
Awesome. And the podcast is put on by hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social media. Appreciate y'all.